Hello, hello.
Perfect.
How?
All right.
Okay. Is the camera recording?
Not recording. No,
Okay,
no.
good. That wasn't on camera.
Oh, it's okay if it's not on camera for her. I see how this is.
I loved his last second. Happy Saturday and welcome to another Books and Booze episode.
Thank you for joining us again this week.
Yes. Well, we're a new book and a new spirit.
Yes.
So exciting.
So the new spirit is from Waterloo Antique.
Waterloo Antique Gin.
Antique Gin. And it was just a happy mistake how we ran into this gin. And so after tasting it, we said, we really got to dive in deeper into who are the people that make this gin. And so that brings me to...
Waterloo Antique Gin is made by Treaty Oak Distillery, and they are in Dripping Springs, Texas.
In Texas.
And when I was reading about this small company, about 20 to 25 employees, they like the art of the history of how it's been done, but they want to push it. Like they want to try new ingredients in their infusions, try new techniques, and just really push the gamut on it. And I'll tell you, this Waterloo Antique Gin is amazing.
You guys nailed it.
Yes.
You really nailed it. Thank you.
Cheers to the Waterloo Antique Gin.
Cheers.
Yes.
Cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers. And then we stirred it on ice and then just added a rosemary sprig. Like that's how beautiful these flavors are.
It doesn't need to be a mixer. It really doesn't. It has a very unique profile. You might be wondering why this gin is just a little bit darker, and it's because they aged this gin for 2 years in barrels. And that's really what kind of, brought us on to saying, hey, let's try this out. This is very unique. And so, my husband and I are big bourbon drinkers. Well, I drink anything, but, bourbon is, we have a pretty big bourbon collection in our house. And so that really kind of piqued our interest. And I can, when I sip on it,
it's just so, you get the botanicals, you get citrus. I mean, obviously we added the little bit of rosemary.
But and a little bit of rosemary in there. But, the wood is really prominent in there. It's just so funny because in the front end, wood, you kind of get in like that bourbon whiskey flavor in the front end. And on the back end, all the botanicals from the gin and the gin basket that you guys brewed it with, it just comes forward.
Beautiful.
Oh man. And I really, hey guys, just saying, Orlando, Florida, if you're looking to make a shipment down here at any point in time, because I really think I stumbled on this by accident.
It's a great accident. Well, and Treaty Oak is really prized on their bourbons. Like they're really proud of what they do with their different bourbons.
Yeah.
The Waterloo Gin, I've yet to understand the relationship. I definitely want to dig deeper and understand them more, but Waterloo Gins have several options. And then Treaty Oak Distillery has a lot of bourbon options. Okay. So interesting to learn the dynamic there. But it seems like the foundation is kind of cutting edge, unique blends, unique processes, but still holding on to the art of it.
Yeah, I think you guys really nailed it. I'm really liking what you did here with aging this for 2 years. So really congratulations, you guys. I can understand why it took some awards over here.
Yep. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
All right, so new month.
Last week we
finished.
We finished up with Atomic Habits, but we're technically we're coming out of. Soon we'll be coming out of winter solstice, but we're diving into a new book, and the new book is Mindset by Carol Dweck. And one of the reasons why I chose this book was because I felt like we're coming into a new year, so we talked about Atomic Habits, which was, kind of getting your noodle going about how you might want to change certain habits, reflecting on what you've done for the year, and things that you would want to carry forward and not carry forward, right? Mm-hmm. And so now we're going to dive into your mindset, so we're really kind of taking a deep dive into the mindset of one. You either have fixed or you have growth, right? Kristen, please tell us a little bit more about it.
So yeah, what I love about Carol's first few chapters or parts of the book is she does give a lot of great examples of helping us unlock a fixed mindset versus what is called a growth mindset. Now, I've been in corporate retail for years, and a lot of HR programs will put out things to help grow leadership and things like that. And so I've heard of this concept of growth mindset before. Yeah. And it's really important, especially in the business realm, right? Because when you're in a fixed mindset, I think a lot of places align that you tend to be very unchanging in your fundamentals.
Yes.
You often will pick kind of the easy route. You're afraid of failure, so you're going to choose things that you won't fail at, even though
it kind of reminds me old dog, no new tricks type of thing, right?
100%. Yeah. Right. So getting into the first few parts of this book, she really digs into how do you understand the belief of your mindset? And she opens us up with doing a study of puzzles with young children.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Kids, just the innocence of them, the purity of them, I told you in previous podcasts, I love sitting down with a 4-year-old, freaking fantastic. Well, what she ended up doing, she's a psychologist. So Carol Dweck's a psychologist. And so she did this, I guess you could say it's an experiment, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Where she started different children coming into a room that was very comfortable. It was a safe place for them.
Yeah.
And the first round of puzzles was very easy.
Yeah.
The second round was a little more challenging.
Yep.
And then the puzzles got progressively harder and harder.
Yeah.
And when what she expected was some of the children to basically have a meltdown.
Frustration.
I
mean, I'm surprised she didn't come. Well, I beat you to
it. No, but she was one of the students, rubbed his hands together, pulled the chair up closer, and I love a good challenge. And then another child, in the middle of going through it, I was hoping I would learn something. This is great.
I know.
Right? And versus that failure, I can't do this. This is hard. I'm bored. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Which I think we adults tend to swing to.
Yeah,
right?
we do. I know. I will tell you, I was surprised that she didn't, because I've been around enough young kids to know that there really is two spectrums. So you've got the kids that will melt down and get frustrated and throw the puzzle. So I don't know where she got her bunch of kids, but all of them were up for the challenge.
Right.
But what she was explaining in the book is that, she could right away tell the kids that were up for the mindset of growing is because they took on the challenge. They're invigorated by it. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
No, you're good. And then the other, and just how they reacted to it. And she said they became her inspiration, right? They were her role models, I think she called them. So then she kind of segues then into the age-old research. And it stems, scientists, psychologists, behaviorists have all dug into the concept of your mindset.
Yeah.
And they really, however you boil it down, it's either what is labeled a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. Other great individuals that have studied this and leaders in the industry have called it learners and non-learners.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm going to have a confession moment here.
Oh, boy.
This book was like a mirror. I was holding up a mirror and looking at myself because I always thought, because of my HR background, training, working for corporate, that I had a growth mindset because I always said outwardly I was open to feedback and I wanted to grow. But truly, deep down inside, I got very defensive, especially my younger years of leadership. I was very defensive when, I would get corporate visits and they would call out things on the store, and I would always have almost a reason or an excuse.
Uh-huh.
You know, and digging into this book, I realized that I had kind of fallen into that fixed mindset routine where I really only positioned myself into things where I knew I could succeed.
And you shine.
And where I could shine versus, and I even would take on problem stores. Like I was the first to raise my hand. Oh, that store's struggling. Send me. Because I knew what I was doing to develop a culture of teamwork and a culture of customer first thinking. So I knew if I could just take a team, I could change results overnight. But it's interesting when you are in the grind of that being part of your routine, how do you elevate your business when things are already good?
Yeah.
And that's a challenge. So this was, I think me, even a year ago reading this, would have gotten really defensive reading this.
You wouldn't have liked the mirror on you, right?
I wouldn't have. No.
Oh, but I'm really glad that you did that, though.
It felt good to look back and realize that I had been one place and that I made the conscious decision to want to change. And it had to come part of, even for me, what worked, we came out of Atomic Habits, is I had to create my morning routine. And in my morning routine, part of my kind of meditation or prayer or what have you is to talk about how I am, I am enough.
Yes.
I am learning.
Yes.
And I had to put myself to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because something happens to us. And I'm sure Carol will get into it further, but something happens to us as we leave childhood and come into adulthood that we always want the gold star. We always want to be the best. So one of the things I thought was so interesting is how she really boiled into how babies, right? You take a baby and they're the ultimate example of growth mindset.
Yes.
Like learning to walk, a baby will, unless they get hurt when they fall, they really don't cry. It's almost this like, I remember Jackson and Ethan learning to walk. He is and they're like struggling one step and then they fall, but they don't necessarily cry, right? They get up, they try again. Or the toys, right? They're round peg in a square hole or whatever, right? Until they get it to work. And it's a challenge for them, but they don't consider themselves a failure. They don't cry. They don't have a meltdown.
They don't. It's very innocent, innocent, pure way they are. They're just willing to say, okay, I didn't get it. Let me try it again. That type of mindset. But I really believe as you get older, it's society that shapes that way of thinking of fixed mindset or being preoccupied about what everyone thinks and not wanting to fail because of what people think and the judgment that's placed on you, but I think essentially we're all born learners. And I think that's what Carol was saying too. Yep. We were all born learners.
Yep.
We just...
Somewhere it changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought the dynamic between the husband and wife and how she had clearly stayed on a growth mindset path, right? Because she wanted to address challenges and figure it out. But he had somehow warped into his fixed mindset. So just in a simple conversation one evening where she's like, how come we don't go out more often? Apparently caused him a meltdown. Yeah. Right? He felt less of, a successful husband because my wife's questioning why we don't go out more. Yeah. And, she had to spend all this time rebuilding his ego.
Yeah, he turned around and called his mother.
Yep, to build him back up.
And if I'm not mistaken, this was actually built from a part in the book where she said that a lot of times this mindset, this fixed mindset, can affect relationships, and the fact that guys come in and they're looking for the trophy wife, right? Or they're looking for the wife that's going to bend down and worship them. And I'm saying, I'm the girl, so I'm saying wife, but we can flip it too. Because there are ladies, you guys out there are looking for the guy who's just going to sit there and grovel at your feet. Whatever you do, they're going to treat you like a princess. Because your dad sat there and treated you this way, like the princess you are. You're wanting the man to come in and do it. And so you're looking for this type of relationship. And what ends up happening is anytime you have resistance, right? Your spouse or your partner comes in and has a little bit of
feedback.
I was going to say
perspective.
Yes. Now you're like, wait, whoa.
Right.
You should have been worshiping me, not giving me resistance. And that's what she was talking about in this book, was that he went in with this fixed mindset. He probably, well, let me not make assumptions, but he went in with this fixed mindset, and he was expecting his wife to act a certain way. And the moment she acted a different way and had any type of feedback in the relationship, he went into a tizzy, meltdown, and then called his mama.
Right.
Like,
why?
Why?
And he's not alone in that, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of us do that in our work environment, right? Our boss gives us feedback and we suddenly feel like a failure.
Yeah.
Right? I really did I pass it already? I wonder. Okay, I know I'm skipping around, but I feel like this pulls into it. It was kind of a test. Like, what would you do if one day, you go into class and you realize you got a C+ on a test.
Oh, yeah.
And then leaving that, you head out and you have a parking ticket. And then you call your friend to vent about it. And your friend's a little, disengaged.
Yeah, she's, indifferent. She's like, yeah, whatever. So you got a parking ticket and you made a C. So what?
So what? Right. Yeah. So she, paints this picture of two different worlds, right? Uh-huh. Somebody who's in a fixed mindset, they're probably feeling... You may have said, I suck, or I'm a failure, or life's not fair, right?
Yeah, woe is me. Everything happens to me. Mm-hmm. Not everyone's against me. The world's out to get me. That whole woe is me attitude comes in. You're like, I got the C+ because the teacher doesn't like me. And I got the parking ticket because the cop had a wild hair up his butt. And my friend's not talking to me, or she was being like this because she's being a selfish beepity beep beep beep. Mm-hmm. So all these things.
Right. Or you can have a growth mindset.
Yep.
And a C+ is, you can say, okay, there's things I'm not understanding in the class. What do I need to learn? Yeah. Or how can I study different to prepare myself? And I work this through with my kids all the time because they come to me and they're like, oh, my teacher is just not a good teacher. And I'm like, or are they challenging you on different ways to learn and push yourself, right? And then parking tickets suck, but typically people don't just issue parking tickets.
Did you go in the handicap section?
Or did you overstay your meter?
Yeah.
Or, I don't think cops and meter maids are allowed to give tickets just to piss people off.
I'm pretty sure someone in the comments will tell us they had something happen to them. But
for the most part, you're typically at fault somewhere, right? And then calling your friend. This was eye-opening to me. Maybe your friend's going through something. And instead of you internalizing it, what's wrong with her?
Yeah.
But isn't it about, is she or he okay?
Yes.
What's going on in their world that my C and my parking ticket isn't a big deal could be something worse.
Yeah. Being a little bit of compassion. So being compassionate and saying, hey, my friend it's not normally how she acts. I'm sorry if that's normally how she acts. I'm not sure why she's your friend. But, you might want to look into things. Mm-hmm. But, if she was acting a little bit different than normal, maybe diving in and saying, oh man, that's kind of off for her. Mm-hmm. You check in on her.
What's going on, right?
Yeah, just turning that extra leaf, looking at the other side, glass half full type of scenario,
Right, absolutely. Yeah. So I think the ultimate example that I read in this book of growth mindset was Christopher Reeve. Do you remember Superman?
Yeah, handsome.
So I did not realize that. Well, I knew he had been in a riding accident. He got thrown from the horse, and I knew he had been paralyzed.
Yep.
But by the time I really remember watching any interviews with him and seeing him post the accident, I felt like I had seen a little bit of movement from him. But apparently his accident left him completely paralyzed.
Not even able to talk?
I don't know. I don't want to put wrong information out there, but he had to basically push back on the doctors because the doctors are like, this is a done deal. So sorry. Don't get your hopes up. But he insisted on his physical therapist pushing and working his muscles. And he believed that he could gain movement back. And it took 5 years.
I didn't realize it was 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
How many, and you talk about atomic habits, right? And then you talk about growth mindset. To stick at something for 5 years. 5 years just to get a little bit of movement back.
I congratulate myself for 5 weeks. I can't imagine for 5 years.
100%, right? Yeah. But what he did and his dedication to sticking to it reworked what science and the medical field thought was possible after.
It's incredible.
It is incredible.
Yeah, that's really incredible.
And just talking about the power of your mindset.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
The doors that it can open. It's just like,
yeah.
Right? The other thing I liked in her book, and you got to read it, you got to grab it, but I appreciate that she takes different questions that, people who either doubt her philosophy on it or just have questions as to her stance on things. So she takes some of those. And I like there was one question that she addresses where people challenge her like, well, I thought growth mindset was all about your personal development. So why do you give all these examples of people who are like number one and beat everybody else?
Yeah.
And her answer was so beautiful. She's like, it's not about beating everybody else. It's about showing what the possibilities are, right? If you go at something for just bettering yourself and it's okay if you fail at this, what can you learn from it? Pick yourself up, learn more, get better, get stronger. You're going to become the best in whatever you do. Yeah. Versus only doing things that you know that you can succeed at. And if you don't think you can succeed, you don't try it. But you don't get better if you don't try things.
I agree. I think sometimes we get so lost in the consequence of things. We start in our head imagining the consequences of a failed, and I don't like the word failure, but we get so caught up into the idea of failing at something that we just, if it didn't come out the way we wanted it to come out, we just stop and say, no, I'm going to stop right there. Or the idea that it could happen, you stop from even trying, right? And so we talk about babies, right? Babies fall and they just get back up and keep going again. There's no consequence for them. Right? So just, if you can always just think that there really isn't a consequence, right? One of the books outside of this one that I read, it was saying that the worst thing to do ever, and depending on your religion, is die, right? So if whatever endeavor you're going on is not going to kill you, then actually there's no consequence. Yeah.
Well, the cliche, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
There you go. That's true. So I just one of those things of just do it. Just do it. We do have one life. Yeah. Yeah, right.
But it's so true. When you feel like you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, but then at what point do you begin to get afraid of losing what you have accomplished?
Yeah.
Right? That's the human mind and the human psyche and our spirit of adventure is so interesting.
It is. In 2008, I got laid off. I was working a corporate job. I actually really liked it, but I got laid off in 2008. And at that moment in time, it was kind of the recession. So it was like me and half the workforce got laid off. And so a lot of us had to go in, and you had a couple of choices. You can either just stay home, sit on unemployment, or you reinvent yourself and learn a new trade. And your growth mindset comes in. And that's what happened to me. Mm-hmm. Now, cyclical things happen. Again, I was faced with similar things that happened in my entrepreneurial journey. So now you can either just say, oh no, I'm not going to go down this road. I can't lose everything I built. Or you can just say, what can I learn new to build upon what I've already learned and just keep going forward.
Boiling everything together, right? This is our fourth book now. I think when you really dig into your why for doing something, right? Our very first book, right? That opens you up to a vulnerability. And then when you come at things from a place of gratitude, Think and Grow Rich, right? And every experience you look at as something to be grateful for versus something that's, right?
Like everything is bad. Everything happened to you instead of for you. Yeah, just like Debbie Downer.
Right. Like even, thank you for these stressful financial challenges so that I can learn to make wiser decisions, so that I can learn. And, and if you apply yourself to learning and taking on a mentor who understands budgeting and finance and investment, I hear time after time, doesn't matter that you don't have millions of dollars. Start with $100.
Yeah.
And go from there, right?
You just know where it should be going. And
right.
I think and I've actively in a personal level, I've had things happen in my life, and instead of saying, okay, it's happening to me, it's happening for me. And there is this weird solace that happens, and in the middle of the hurricane, right, in the middle of the storm, you're sitting there like, man, what a day. And then you just sit back and you say, wow, what a day. I learned so much. I figured out how to overcome this obstacle. I figured out that my husband and I are a better team because we got through this certain challenge, and our family united even stronger because we all were faced with a certain struggle, So it's something that once you have it in here, you're like, okay, I'm no longer the victim, right? That victim mindset, you're switching out of that, and you're coming. The
stories we tell ourselves.
The stories, how you identify, being thankful for things, and deciding in your habits that you're wanting to change certain things about yourself, right? Not, it could be material, whatever, but there's certain things you want to change until you're implementing these new habits. It really does make a perfect tea.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
A blend.
Yeah.
In a great gin.
Yeah. I said tea. I was going to say gin. You see my girl? You see my girl.
It's interesting because she wraps up these first 3 chapters or sections, and she talks about the stigmas that we put on ourselves as society, and the stories we tell ourselves. And there are unfortunate stereotypes. And my husband and I have had so many amazing conversations about this because obviously him coming from Panama and his heritage, we get to see a lot of dynamic from multicultural perspectives and different backgrounds. And there are stereotypes that are placed even on us women, old school, right? Yeah. There's been a movement these past 10 years that has been beautiful to empower women, but there were stereotypes, that our grandparents and parents had to come through on, women aren't good in math and science, or women aren't good at this. And then look at the stereotypes we put on different nationalities, right? Like, it seems like a lot of our African American citizens get placed into they're just good at sports, but they're not necessarily going to test very well, academically, right? Or our Chinese American descendants they're going to test the best, right? And we get all these stigmas and stereotypes, and how dangerous even checking those boxes off yourself can be, depending on how you've been raised and what stories you've been told that create paradigms in your head. So dangerous.
It is. It really is. It's human nature to try and box everything in, right? We compartmentalize everything, and just the framework of the mind is just trying to say, okay, you belong here, you belong here, you belong here, because
you won't be good at this, you'll be okay at that.
You sift and sort, but if you really think about it, they've been raising us that way since we're little. So let's blur the lines a little. We don't need to be boxed in or anything like that. And I really like when the growth mindset is just coming in and saying, don't box people in. They don't deserve to be boxed in, people of all, but anything really in general,
right? And while we shouldn't do that, the real power lies in us as an individual to raise above that, to not listen to that and not let that box us in. Yeah. And I've known so many people from so many beautiful backgrounds that have risen above that. Yeah. And it's awesome because it's like they don't let their heritage or their nationality box them in. Yeah. They almost look at it as a challenge to rise above the status quo, if you will. And it's just, but that all comes from mindset. Yeah. They're determined to not be that stereotype that they've been boxed in. Right. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I really like it. And there is something in, as I go through the notes, guys, give me a minute, because there was something in here. I don't think we covered it. We're all over the place. Normally we follow the script pretty well, but I know only one drink in, guys, but it was a strong one. Hold on. What's the proof on this? Should we blame Mio? Let's blame Mio. Mio, you messed me up, girl. That was fun. Wait, hold on. Wait.
Thomas Edison.
Yes.
Okay, that one had me like, I forgot about that one. I wanted to bring it.
People were asked, how do you picture Thomas Edison, describe him. And a lot of people were saying,
the light bulb.
The light bulb, yes, but they also pictured this scientist in a lab by himself, toiling away.
Oh, yeah, just sweating, just up all day, all night. Yeah. No, the truth is,
he had a team of
this dude had 30 assistants.
Yeah, scientists with him.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I've heard historians say that he wasn't actually the one that actually discovered
conspiracy theory.
But, this is not what this is about. But anyways, yes, he was not alone in this, right? He had a team of people that were, and they failed at things. And
multiple times. Atomic
Habits
talked about it, that he failed multiple times before he actually was able to light the bulb, right? And so here, he actually had a team that was working with him, right, through the challenges, and he kept that growth mindset. He could have stopped. When he failed at number 6, I mean, most people would probably be like, I'm out.
Or 60.
Yeah, or 60, I'm out, but, he kept going, him and all of his other scientists that he was working with.
Yeah.
He just kept going with it, and so I just...
That was really neat. Carol lists a bunch of people that we would consider famous or reputable or have won Nobel Prizes or awards or sports, and she's like, a lot of them were initially pinned as not likely to succeed in their area of passion.
Yeah, average IQ, average in school.
Average in sports, not amazing. But something about them, and she said when it really boiled down to is they were not afraid of failure. They looked at failure as a chance to learn and get better.
Yeah.
And she gave example after example of persons who, instead of staying at their grade level, wanted to play with the next band. Or they, students who advanced so far in maybe a music lesson and then really stuck to it. She just gives probably 50 to 100 examples just in these first 3 chapters.
I almost feel like it's if you just maintain somewhat of your childlike essence,
sure,
that will help propel you, because if you're not listening to what can't be done, you don't know what can't be done.
That's so true.
And
she challenges us at the end of these first few to really pick your idol or your role model.
Yeah.
Right? And dig deep and do a little research on them. Chances are they did not wake up from bed one morning and say, I'm going to be successful at this, and walk out the door and all of a sudden deal with a sports company or deal with a business brand or something. It took work, blood, sweat, tears, failure. But in each failure was a lesson.
Yeah.
And they tried again and they tried again.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a neat way to wrap up kind of everything she wrote, because it's so true. We don't wake up one day and say,
I'm going to be successful. I'm going to make a gazillion
well, we can wake up and say that.
Well, you can. You're right. We can.
We can wake up and say that. And put ourselves in the mindset to be that. But then there's going to be a few bumps in the road along the way.
Yeah.
And that's where growth mindset comes in, right?
Yeah, and if you guys have tuned in for any of our webinars, one week we did go over that, and one of the things I said, I don't promise a lot, but I will promise you one thing: there will be obstacles in your way, in your mindset. It's going to be the only thing that's going to get you over those
hurdles.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what a great book for a new year, because a lot of us come out of the holidays and we're like, okay, I want to change this about myself.
Yes.
And change starts, here and here, right? Your why.
Yeah,
and your
why.
mindset towards it.
Yeah, because your mindset goes along with your why, typically. Mm-hmm. Right? You're going to want to change how you're thinking in order to achieve, Hey, anyways, cheers.
Hashtag have another.
All right, my friends.
Great book. Thank you guys for joining us. Yes. So grab a good book.
Get some good booze.
And somebody please give us a third B.
Hey, give me a minute. We went through bar, bras. Give me a minute. Bars. go through some brads.
Oh dear. I know. Brads?
That's the first thing that came to my head. Brads. I don't know.
I was thinking, isn't there a tool? Brads? I don't know.
Brads. No, that's really not right. Okay, wait. I'm gonna have to edit that one. Whoa.